Hello, everyone. This is Kendall. Corey and I are dedicating this episode to my biological father, Walter Scott Clark, who died suddenly on Friday, 3 days before his 72nd birthday. We loved you, Dad. Thanks for 8.5 years of great memories.
All right, we're back with part 2 with Aaron and Jess. This is part of the story I always find the most interesting because discovery is one thing. Living with it, that's the story. And you can already hear it starting to take shape here. Everyone's coming at this from a completely different angle. You've got the college kids who are like, okay, who am I? Where did I come from? Let's figure this out. You've got a 10-year-old who's basically like, cool, but why would I hang out with a 50-year-old guy? Which, honestly, is the most grounded take in this whole thing. And then you've got Aaron and Jess trying to make decisions in real time with zero roadmap. And then, because this story doesn't know when to stop, they decide to film it. So now your first meeting isn't just a first meeting, it's lights, cameras, awkward seating arrangements, and someone asking you questions before you've even had a second to just look at each other. It's a lot, but it also creates something pretty unique. So yeah, let's get back into it.
So at this point, I am separated from my partner, and my partner has kept our youngest daughter. I think why that is important is, number one, because my partner really believed that biology is completely unimportant and chosen family is very important. But in the next breath, my partner has ghosted our eldest daughter, Alice, who she had with her for years, 3 days a week after the divorce. If you're the parent doing this, because there is no rule book at all, my kid was really in a position where she was looking to run to him and wonder why he's not coming to her school play. She did not want to replace a parent who's going to burn her again painfully. It was really a good position for her to be in as far as being that young and me feeling like it was okay to plan a meeting here. But yet to this day, because of that messy divorce, I've met the most Aaron donor children of anyone because I'm the only one who knows my youngest daughter, who's not been able to have contact with me or Alice in 10 years now.
Wow. I'm sorry about that.
It's really hard for Alice because she gets all of this publicity now, and people are like, your sister, duh, and we'll refer to the donor siblings. And others will say your other half sister then gets relegated to the status of donor sibling. And that's my sister. Who am I? I am now a college student and I want to know my own identity. And my kid's like, what? There's a 50-year-old man? I'm 23. I don't want to have coffee with a 50-year-old man. I'm no desire to see what I have in common with a 50-year-old man. I'm a 10-year-old girl. Is he into Monsters High? Because I'm into Monsters High. And so it was pulling teeth to get her to even write her life story to him. And it's basically me being like, what's your favorite color? And she's like, gray, like my soul. Okay, what's your favorite movie? I like Hitchcock. And so he was like, your 10-year-old daughter's awesome.
Her responses were really funny.
And I was like, okay, so maybe when there's two other kids there and you're there, we're so close to Seattle. It wasn't hard for us to meet him. We'll wait for the other kids to come this summer. We'll go up. He was caring for his mom. He couldn't travel to see them because she had Alzheimer's at that point. And no matter what anybody feels about the donor, nobody's anti-grandma. So we're going to grow up and we're going to see grandma. And this is sister's grandma too. So you've got this job now, Alice, to gather information about these folks. And there's a 19-year-old girl, there's a 20-year-old guy. They kept buying Alice pizza and trying to woo her. And it was such a better, safer version of this very big, scary, important life event for her.
There's some details we haven't gotten to yet. When I learned that I had some biological children, most of my friends didn't, it just wasn't something I had ever talked about, mostly because I hadn't really thought about it in a long time.
Yeah.
But suddenly I had these DNA children, and I told a few close friends, but I just wanted to keep it private for a while to figure out what was going on with it. But eventually, after a couple months, I'd kind of pieced together how I felt about it. And I thought it would be fun to tell it as a story. I have writer inclinations. So at the time I was living in a co-op, and this was very much a co-op where people were actually living together, sharing space and living in community. In our co-op had periodic talent shows, and talents could be anything. You could just tell a story. So what I did was I made a PowerPoint presentation that told the story of getting DNA tested and discovering these children and so forth. And I was presenting this to a bunch of people who knew me as a 50-year-old bachelor. And so I gave this presentation, and a number of people were watching it. And one of them was my co-op mate, Matt Isaacs. I think he had recently moved out of the co-op, but he was still kind of part of the community. And at the end of the PowerPoint, I took the opportunity to say, and they're all coming here, and we're going to have a party at the co-op. Yeah. So I sort of announced a party where everyone would get to meet the people in the PowerPoint presentation. And the party was scheduled for July 1st. At the end of the evening, Matt comes up to me and he was like, how would you feel about being the subject of a documentary film? Yeah. And we'll film you meeting your biological children. And, Matt was someone I liked and trusted. And I was like, okay, sounds fun. Oh,
so that meeting was awkward.
And so instead of meeting the children in some normal way, what happens is they arrive in Seattle and then Matt sequesters them.
Alice and I got a hotel, and I remember even texting Aaron because we had become text buddies over the intervening 6 months, because it turns out, especially my kid, but even Bryce and Maddie, they're like, who am I? Where do I come from? And me and Aaron are like, oh, actually, we have a lot in common. We did this whole thing before that. What was your part like? My part is freaking harder.
Jess is 10 years younger than me, but we're essentially contemporaries, and we just had a lot of adult things to talk about.
And so I remember I was even texting him from the W. I was like, I've been to Seattle. I can see you from here. We're in the U district. This is so weird.
So did you get pushback from any of the children whose families didn't want them involved in the documentary?
By that time, I had maybe connected a little bit with, I don't know, a half dozen others, but most of them, it was with their moms, and they were cordial enough interactions, and they were like, maybe when the kids are older, we'll connect with you. But we exchanged some basic info, and I'm Facebook friends with a bunch of the moms and a few of the other kids, but mostly the moms.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And so there was one other child, Emily, who lives locally. She's actually the closest one, and I think she was 9 at the time. And her mom was nervous about having her meet me, and she was invited to come to the initial meeting and party, but she declined. They did have a separate meeting where Alice, Bryce, Matt, Jess went and met them
at a
park.
She was okay with this. It's interesting because that mom was okay with the siblings, but not with Aaron. I think other parents are comfortable with Aaron, but not the siblings.
I get it. It's complex, right?
We've since become friends with Emily, and Alice and Emily were in the same Girl Scout troop for a while. And
oh, wow.
We just asked Alice yesterday, what's Emily up to? She texted you back. How's she doing in school?
She's awesome.
We see them on holidays. They have become donor cousins.
But in any case, at the time, they weren't involved in the movie. I mean, they do appear in the movie a little bit, but for the initial meeting, so it was very contrived. They were all brought to the co-op and put in the living room and sat on a couch. And then I was told to come in. And you can see this scene in the movie. I come in and they're all sitting on the couch and we kind of wave to each other. But then immediately I have to go like sit on the couch next to them. So we're all like 4 in a row facing forward. Like all we really want to do is look at each other, but we're like in the least convenient position to do so. And then we're immediately asked questions. So this is like a very contrived, awkward meeting. One nice thing about it, though, was like Jess was sitting behind the camera and she and I just exchanged this nice little wave where we rolled our eyes and acknowledged like how ridiculous the situation we were in was.
But what a nice way to commemorate how many people get that opportunity.
Yeah, sure.
And that's also why I said yes on behalf of Alice, who wanted no part.
Yeah.
Is because they're young enough that you're like, I feel like you're going to regret it if you don't take this opportunity. This is really interesting and really different, and nobody gets to do interesting, different things. And we tried to make it not a big deal, but it became very awkward. But it also created this opportunity for trauma bonding on all of our parts, because very quickly, like all 5 of us were like, how do we get away from this camera?
The escape route.
And it's funny, for me, it was fascinating because first of all, I'm a social science PhD. And second of all, I'm the non-biological one in this group. So I'm watching all these people who are really just a lot alike. Really.
Oh, yeah, you should talk about that.
And I'm...
Like, what similarities did you see between us immediately?
Eye-rolling, short, witty quips all the freaking time. Really introverted. I'm the extrovert and I'm not an extrovert on the spectrum of actual humans. But it's like being an American in Europe. Like suddenly I'm the party here and they are all very quiet. But when they have a pun to haul out of their back pockets, they're going to try to one-up each other on it all the time.
I love
and
it.
So you're just like, oh, gee, I am the mom. And so I'm just watching them the entire time. And as we're trying to sort of plot these escapes and stuff, we were all kind of in this together. And they move alike, they act alike. They're all really linguistically gifted, but in different ways. No, it was completely fascinating. And we actually at that party, part of the party was we played a game where the audience, they had some pre-prepared questions, like, do you like roller coasters? So we decided before this Meet My Kids party happened, we decided this was going to be like a 2-week thing. We were going to learn Aaron. He was going to take us to his places and show us his people and everything like that. And part of that was going back down to Oregon, where I lived at the time, to go to this sort of hippie event that he goes to every year. So we all ended up on this road trip immediately where we're, the kids are in the backseat. I'm mom. I'm like throwing chips and sandwiches and making sure everybody's okay. And I'm like just kind of running the get to know you show because they're all introverts. You did feel like you knew how that person reacts and who that person is and how to get along with that person. Once we ditched all the cameras and got on the road, it was weirdly natural.
We're like cool parents on a road trip with our kids. The documentary took a really long time to make. Like there was like an initial year where there was filming periodically, and then every once in a while they would come film something else.
Yep.
But suddenly this year they finally finished it and submitted it to a bunch of film festivals. And it's like very strangely, this was total coincidence. It played in Atlanta the same weekend as the Untangling Our Roots Festival. So I actually got to go be at one of the screenings of it.
Well, we want to help promote that. We're going to put the information in our show notes and get it out to the community.
Yeah, it's not currently available on streaming. They hope to have it available. Like it's still showing at film festival. But if you go to the Dad Jean's website, there's a list of like upcoming showings.
But yes, somewhere along the line, we became a couple. And so, like, our shtick at parties is, hi, we're Aaron and Jessica, and here's our 15-year-old daughter, Alice. And we met when she was 12.
Yeah, I love it.
That gets people interested in how the heck that worked. And, obviously at the Meet Your Kids party, like, a lot of Aaron's friends traveled to come and meet his kids because they've known him for 30 years. And I saw that he had his nursery school friends there. He had like girlfriends from when he was 12. It was extreme. He had like every person he'd ever been in a relationship with there. So we started out on such a good footing for, okay, I'm not going to mess this up for my children if we pursue this, because we did from the very beginning have so much in common that we had done previously that maybe had to do with donating. And then when we met, we went through this other thing together, and it was all really easy to go through together.
And we'd corresponded, like we'd online chatted for months before meeting. And while it wasn't like dating chat, really, we were still bonding.
Yeah. It was weird. Yeah, it was weird chat, because I think when we finally were dating, it was still like we would go out and I would be telling him about his children.
No, but what a great thing to get to share stories about Alice. And that's a gift.
It is a gift. Today is starting to be like 8 years in, where it's actually hitting you how the timeline plays out. Because the other day I had the thought for the first time, I was like, oh, but you weren't there.
Right.
She was 6, and it seems like you've been here, but you didn't actually like really raise her. You don't know how this turned into 11 to 15. Now she's 20 now. But it is interesting. We did it backwards, is our DNA surprise, and our story is that it's weird getting to know this person that has all the mannerisms of the people you love most in the world. Look at him as a person and see if you really like him for him.
Exactly. Which is what I think every adult child needs to do anyway. They have to figure out if they are going to be friends with their parents. It's a bit unique for you.
Most people don't have to think so much about how they're going to do that and what the expectations are around that.
Yeah.
Another thing a lot of people want to know about is like my relationship with Alice. And again, we're both pretty reserved people, and for probably longer than maybe it would go for most people, like Jess was very much our intermediary. We pretty much only spend time together if Jess is present.
They're the identical sides of the Oreo. I have to be the icing holding this thing together.
That's me.
It was a bit awkward at first, and Alice is very resistant to the idea that I am her parent, and resents when people like make assumptions about that. And I also don't view her as my daughter, really. Like we've talked about it a lot, and like Alice and I have become close. We get along really well. We're very similar people in a lot of ways.
I felt like if I did die today, they would just continue sitting on this couch for the next 60 years together. But Alice would...
she would have sort of like...
You maybe not, but I think a huge social part of Alice's story is people come at her and are just like, that worked out for you. You just got to trade out your bad mom for this one that's real. And she will never let her mom off that hook. And my mom's a jerk, but she's just clearly my mom. And all of you kind of homophobic people who are like, oh, for you, a real daddy, are really missing an important piece of this story. So I think that's how she comes at it, like alone with Aaron. I feel like that's like the best sort of step-parent relationship.
Yeah.
And that's what it looks like.
Yeah, that's what it feels, because I'm stepdad.
I get it.
It's hard to come in when someone's 11. That's not realistic. And the first decade of your life is really when you form those ideas about what your family is.
Yep.
And they're not swappable. I had this like stuffed Shamu, and it got lost and it got swapped for a new one. And that was not my Shamu.
Yes.
Imagine that on the scale of this is your parent. It's just, it doesn't work that way. And I think it's a testament to everyone, at least involved in our story, that even with some of that external media pressure to make it look that way, everyone's we're just rolling with it. It's fine. Everything is fine as it is. Why would we just try to push this story that's not quite ever going to be true?
Yep. I applaud that, because as an adoptee, I lost my parents when I was 16, my adoptive parents. 30 years later, I found my biological family. And the number of my friends who have said, oh, well, thankfully you found your family. I'm like, I also lost the original people.
Those are actual people.
Instrumental in my upbringing. And so I'm so happy that I found my biological family, but they're never going to replace my mom and dad.
It's a different relationship, and it's good to have a relationship, but it's not the one you lost, and it's not going to be.
No, I just tell them, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. And these are even people who remember my parents, who grew up with me and say, well, your parents would be so happy that you found. Well, I know that. I know. Right. And I have documents. My mother, before she passed away, had written a note to my biological mother, hoping that I would find her son. So I knew I had their support, but still doesn't make it. I'm not going to forget about them. Yeah. Thank you both so much for coming on and telling your very interesting story.
Thanks so much for having us.
Absolutely. And we'd like to stay in contact and just see if things develop. I mean, how many children have you found now, Aaron?
22.
Wow.
Interestingly, the first 4 I met, Bryce, Maddie, Alice, and Emily, are the only ones I've met.
Interesting.
And they were the ones most interested in meeting and connecting. Of the other ones, I've had at least some contacts with almost all of them. I think there's 1 or 2 situations where I've had contact with one sibling, but not the other. But my position has always been, I am willing to be in contact. So, when I find a new one, or if someone contacts me, I always write back and tell them I'm open to contact, I'm open to meeting. But in all those other situations, the correspondence has always just kind of petered out after a while, and okay, it's fine.
As someone who has never spoken to his birth mother, I appreciate that you put yourself in that vulnerable position, because as a child, you just want that chance. Even if the child doesn't take that opportunity, you've offered it. And that, I think, is huge. Yeah, I think that's a good thing. And it's not easy. It's not simple for you to say, here's another person to add to my life. But I think it's responsible, and I'm sure the children appreciate it.
Oh, I should mention, Jess, Alice, and I did have a Zoom conversation with a family that had 3 of my children.
Wow.
And this was during COVID, I think, and when everyone was doing Zoom things. And we had a nice conversation with them for an hour.
That's so cool.
And after that, we didn't really keep up with them, though one of them got very into genealogy and has had some correspondence with
that one's my favorite, because that one, me and that one, we've been doing search angeling together.
Yeah, my product, Jess, has really gotten into being a DNA
finding
detective.
unknown death.
I want to start doing that too. I feel like it's a way I can give back. Yes, it took me 47 years, but when I found my family, it happened very quickly. Mm-hmm. And I feel fortunate that it happened within 3 weeks. I found both sides of the family.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And a lot of people don't have that experience and really struggle. And yeah, so I think it's wonderful to be a DNA angel. Very cool. Corey, I'm sorry he couldn't be with us.
Give Corey my regards. It was nice meeting him at the conference.
There's a line in here that kind of says it all without saying it directly. This isn't about replacing anyone. And you could feel that in how everyone's handling it. Aaron's showing up, but he's not forcing himself into a role. Alice is setting her own boundaries very clearly. Jess is doing the work of keeping things grounded and real, which is not a small job in a situation like this. And then you zoom out and realize there are 20 plus people connected to this one decision Aaron made in his 20s. And every single one of those relationships is going to look a little different. Some connect deeply, some don't, some stay in touch, some drift, and that's the reality. Honestly, that's what makes this feel so real. Nobody's trying to force a perfect ending onto it. They're just letting it be what it is. And then there's the whole Aaron and Jess piece of this, which is just a family twist moment. You can't script that, and even if you did, people would say it's unrealistic. But it works because it's grounded in everything you just heard. It grew out of the situation, it didn't try to clean it up. Aaron and Jess, we really appreciate you both coming on and sharing your story. There's a lot in here, and I think people are going to see themselves in different parts of it. And definitely check out Dad Jeans. We'll have the info in the show notes so you can track it down while it's making the festival rounds. All right, we'll see you next time, and remember, family secrets are the ultimate plot twist. The Family Twist podcast is presented by Savoir Faire Marketing Communications and produced by Mosaic Multimedia.